Welcome back, students. I am here with the new topic in search of alternatives. Now, the situation of supply of water in Chennai was worse, and that situation can be in any stage of India because when the municipality fails to provide or supply water in any particular area, at that time, private companies take an opportunity to supply water in that area and get profit. Now the question arises here, where from such private companies get this water? So these private companies get water from the rural areas or from the farmers, from the lands, and these farmers are paid in advance for that purpose. But in the long run, there is a reduction in the water level in these areas that affects the agriculture in rural areas. So that was all about these private companies where they get that water. Now the another problem is related to the water inequalities. That means inequalities regarding the water consumption in different areas of India. And for that purpose, there is a Urban Water Commission that has set a limit of water consumption in different areas. For example, they have set a limit of water consumption in urban areas. It should be 135 liters per day per person. That becomes about 7 buckets. And in slum areas, the people should consume less than 20 liters a day per person on that becomes 1 bucket. And talking about the luxury hotels, people living in such hotels, they may consume as much 1600 liters, and that becomes 80 buckets of water per day. Though this talks about the inequalities of water usage or water consumption in India. And another problem lies with the municipality department is that when there is a shortage of municipality water, then people take it as a sign of failure of the government because they thought that government is not able to provide the amount supply the amount of water that is required or that is needed. And even money municipality departments are running at losses because they are not getting the required amount or the charges water charges from the people. So the some people thought that it this supply of water should be given to the should be given in the hands of the private companies, or because they can provide better facilities than the government sector. Now there are some facts, we will talk about those facts. When we talk about all over the world, we see the responsibility of providing or supplying water is under the supervision of the government sector, or it is in the hands of the government sector. And there are some less few cases where we see this is operated by the private sector. So this is one scenario. Now second scenario is that we have seen a lot of cases where government has achieved the universal access of water. That means government has successfully provided the water supply to every person. So this is a case number second. Now the third case is that which is seen in few cases where we see it is the responsibility of the private sector to provide water, but that leads to rise in the price of water, which becomes very difficult for the poor people to afford that water. Like we have seen in Bolivia, which is a country where there was a privatization of water. That means what supply of water was in the hands of private companies, and the people were not in a position or were not able to purchase water, which leads widespread protests across the country and forced the government to take the responsibility back from the private sector. So this is another scenario. Now talking about India, let us see some there are some successful stories regarding the supply of water. Talking about this Hyderabad. First, I will talk about Mumbai, and department in Mumbai. That means water department in Mumbai is providing supply at regular intervals, and because they are getting enough money through water charges to cover the expenses uh, that are used on supplying water. Now talking about Hyderabad, they are following the same trend, and they are getting much revenue from water charges or water fee, and they are providing the good water supply. Now talking about Chennai, which we already discussed. Now Chennai, the government in Chennai is also taking lots of steps to improve the water supply, and for that purpose they have started to harvest rainwater. That means they are saving the rainwater, they are collecting the rainwater, which later on increase the groundwater, and which later in the long run solve the problem of water shortages in Chennai. And even the government has allowed private companies to transport water to different areas, and but the rates is fixed by the government sector. That means we can see that the private sector in that area is working under the government sector, and the rates are decided by the government sector. That means water tankers, that means transportation rates, or the rates on the water is decided by the government. And that is why this is called on contract. That means for 1 years, for 2 years, these private companies has to work under the government sector. So lots of things we have read in this lesson regarding public facilities. So in conclusion part, we again talk about the public sector, public facilities that we studied in this lesson. That means it is the government, it is the rule of government to ensure advocate public facilities for everyone. And we see another important issue regarding inequalities in distribution of water, as when we talk about metropolitan cities and large cities, they are getting good or regular water supply as compared to the villages or towns. So there should be the steps which can improve the regular water supply in urban area, in rural areas as well. And government should provide adequate quantity of water even in the rural areas as well, and there should be nothing like about inequalities in distribution or consumption of water in different areas of country. That means it should be given equally to all the citizens of India. So that was all about this lesson. uh, in next lecture we will start a new lesson. Till then, Allah Hafiz, goodbye.